and try to take it here in the second phase. Yep. And there it is. The Ursa will
And
be picked up.
And this is what I was sort of alluding to. This is just classic for Zoomers. Whenever they have second pick, of course, second pick did used to be a little bit better. They would always do this. Slam Sammy Boy's hero down. They're going to be incredibly happy with whatever they get. Usually, we were seeing the Juggernaut be in the same slot as the Ursa is now. And if you're Ego Boys, you need to just get a natural Yules builder. You need to get somebody that can deal with this Ursa. Lion isn't a bad pick, even though, again, it's going to be a little bit risky. You could definitely feed, especially once you get that Blink Dagger. But at this point, there are too many supports that aren't going to feed versus that Ursa. That's something that 4Zoomers have definitely completely focused down. And that's where Ego Boys, I think they misstepped a little bit here. Because I don't think, no matter what they pick on their lineup now, they're sort of locked in with their cores. So even if you're able to get that core matchup for Rises, yeah, I think 4Zoomers have a pretty strong base here.
And with the Mars pickup, things are looking pretty good for them. The lockdown's starting to come into play. They're going to set up the Ursa almost constantly. If any of these 4Zoomers heroes are able to connect in any way with these spells, then Sammy Boy's just going to jump all over them. And Ego Boys, well, really outside of the Timbersaw, there's not a lot of mobility here. So once they're in the fight, they're not really getting out of it. So we'll see if they can address that issue here. Maybe some sort of defensive support with this fourth pick, or the Weaver. Okay. Elusive, mobile.
It's a little bit risky versus Mars Lena. You definitely need to be careful, but this is a hero that we used to be picked up a lot more, especially in season 1 of NADPC. We used to see this Weaver all the time because all the good heroes were really banned out, but that was back when Troll was pretty much the best hero in the game compared to everyone else. So now relying on that hero, that is the Rises hero. That is an ultra carry. It's something that he's going to be able to really pick up a lot of speed on. But again, if you get caught out, if you get speared, if you get Yules into it, you have to be really cautious on this Weaver, even to the point where the Ursa, if Ursa is ever able to touch you, then it's really just a failure of your teammates at that point. You need to have some sort of defensive setup. Otherwise, this Weaver can definitely die in really just the scheme of this game. And especially having Gunner's hero for last pick, they could definitely pick something to make this Weaver's life really hard. I'm guessing we're going to see Puck probably banned out pretty soon here.
Yeah, Ego Boys, one final band to work with, and that is always the danger of the Weaver. Mentioned elusive and mobile, but if you get caught by just about anything, pre-BKB at least, you're pretty much done. So Rises will have to be unbelievably careful. A far cry from the lifestealer he played in the last game where he didn't really have to worry too much about that lockdown. So now the mentality has to change for him. He's got to be not passive, obviously, but cautious in the way that he approaches these fights. He is going to be relied upon still pretty heavily. We were talking about the Viper and the Timbersaw maybe taking some of that responsibility away from him, and that is still going to be the case. But at the end of the day, while the Weaver may not have to bear the full responsibility, if he does not succeed, Ego Boys are still going to struggle massively. So it is going to be about trying to keep this Weaver safe as Ego Boys use their final ban on the Kunkka.
And it is interesting. The Kunkka definitely would have slotted in well. 4Zoomers are calling that they're going to be looking for a 5 or a 4. Personally, I think 4Zoomers should probably ban Warlock. You already took out the Abaddon, so I'm guessing some hero like that would feel really good in this game. But other than that, I saw that the Abaddon was already banned out earlier, and this is going to be a decent lane for the Weaver. It's a really bad lane for the Lena, is another way to put it. If they ever get the chance to run at the Lena, then the Weaver will just be able to. You get the bug on you, you can't get it off. Lena, even though you have those Fiery Soul stacks, you don't want to be hitting the bug. And if the bug is on you, you're most likely dead, especially once they get a few more levels up. That level 3 Skakuchi, it really hurts. And to that point, I feel like it's got to be a hero like Warlock, something that's just going to stabilize the Weaver's lane, make sure he's able to get something, and then you can maybe move the Lion around just a little bit, because Lion, I feel like that's the hero you want versus this Ursa. I feel like they've got to dig up a 5.
Now, 4Zoomers, apparently not entirely sure. They used their final ban on the Invoker, so we mentioned, I think earlier on, not too many teams left in South America that run... that sort of
Okay.
support Viper, and it looks like that's not going to be the case as Ego Boys go in for the Hoodwink instead.
And the Hoodwink, it does feel pretty good, I want to say. Again, it's a risky hero. It's a hero that doesn't feel great in every situation. Versus Mars, I will say it feels pretty nice just because you're always able to take away that bulwark. It's really scary. It's one of the few ways that this Mars can die very easily. as in the other way that this Mars dies is just kind of getting blown up by that Timber Saw, because Weaver does need a lot of items before Brax is really ever going to be under any threat. And at the same time, on 4 Zoomers, they could go for the Tiny, they could go for the Puck, and they're going to go for the Pugna. Okay.
All right. Some magic damage coming into play there to complement Sammy Boy, who is going to be mostly sort of physically based. So we'll see what Gunnar can do here. There have been some pretty standout performances from Pugna's, maybe not in this event. I think we've only seen it maybe once or twice, but in recent times, that Pugna as a core hero can certainly do a lot to sort of punish the opposing team and also serve as a bit of a defensive specialist as well. That defensive life drain, incredibly powerful in terms of just keeping heroes up and in the fight. So I don't know, I like it. The Pugna may have to be a little bit careful about his positioning, though, especially with the Weaver sort of in with the Shikuchi, but as long as he stays safe and the Ursa sort of on the front line, it feels like it can work to their advantage, that's for sure.
Well, similarly to that one game where we had Ocean on that, well, on the Wind Ranger, now on the Lena, if he can set up in these side lanes, Gunnar, having Pugna Lena, you're always able to buff up the Lena's damage or maybe able to get kills where otherwise you wouldn't be able to. And playing versus an ultra physical carry like Weaver, having the Pugna, it's definitely a tool. At the same time, versus Hoodwinked, I'm a little bit skeptical because every single time you're going to go for that life train, he's going to put the acorn shot down, he's going to get you bushwhacked, and you need to be pretty concerned of getting blown up. They have a pretty decent amount of burst damage on the side of EgoBoys, but at the same time, this is a hero that's going to draw the lane versus Viper. It's going to get something, and you're going to be able to at least punish and push down his towers, so I think both teams, I'd say this is a pretty even draft this time around. Both teams have, while different ideas, neither of them have very glaring issues.
Right, just some, well, relatively solid drafting on both sides. So it'll come down to, at the end of the day, just the straight-up execution. We'll see which team gets the better of their opponents. As 4 Zoomers already looking to get a little bit aggressive here, smoking up his 5. Early ward drop down in the middle lane for Gunnar. And they're going to keep on going. We'll see if they really do push all the way into the jungle. It looks like that is going to be the call for them, at least for the time being. Who walks into this play, though? As of right now, EgoBoys aren't really buying into it. They're just going to sort of stay back and try to stay safe.
Yeah, and I don't think they really need to risk it either. They could be walking up. Their level 1 isn't the most fantastic on 4 Zoomers. It really is just Ocean landing the Light Striker right, maybe ended up killing someone, but I really don't think that's going to happen. I think everybody's just going to sit underneath their towers. Because, yet again, you don't want to be forced to use this regen. You don't want to sort of lose your lane before you even TP to your lane, as we'll see some heroes sort of jumble around. And you see Brax actually sitting in the middle lane. If they end up getting Weaver versus the Ursa, they're going to be pretty unhappy. So we'll see if 4 Zoomers, yet again, all day they've been calling out their lane setups and sort of getting a leg up in that way. So I wonder if they're going to call it again.
Gunnar, meanwhile, able to snag that bounty rune away. It's an interesting attempt from Rises to go in with the Shikuchi, but not able to snag that one out. So we will just set up into our normal lanes, and it does appear Rises is just going to head his way up top. So I don't think we're going to be seeing too much switching from the 4 Zoomer side just yet. Brax and Ocean going to make their way up here, and I don't know, this duo has some potential to be incredibly disruptive in the early stages of the game. The Hoodwink is going to have to maybe sort of really act as that sort of buffer in terms of trying to keep these two enemy heroes at bay. Otherwise, if Brax and Ocean just sort of get to play forward and make multiple attempts onto Rises, eventually you got to assume that one of them is going to sort of hit home.
And yeah, right here, you have to be very careful. I don't think they know about the sentry just yet, but Ocean's just going to continue to right-click, be incredibly annoying. You already see Ocean buying another sentry just to preempt if Kara is able to get his. But this lane, it's very, very annoying for both sides. Ocean always needs to be careful of his positioning, especially once the swarm is up, while at the same time, you need to be very careful of Rises just getting completely blown up, and actually both of the sentries missed. Kara's is just slightly out of the Ocean's sentry range. That's really unlucky.
Yeah, so the sort of backup sentry that we saw Ocean purchasing early on, as of right now, not going to be necessary. Meanwhile, over on the other side of the map, Tano going to get dropped pretty early on here. Husky comes in with the slow. Sammy Boy able to sort of dish out most of the damage, but it is the tree who gets the kill. First blood going for Zoomer's way. Queen Tekka, only level 1. Timber Chain is the only ability he has. That's not going to be enough to really deter Four Zoomers from pushing forward. So, first blood on the board early, and that is not great for EgoBoys, but there really wasn't a lot they were going to be able to do there.
Well, and with Queen Tekka, it looks like they sort of got double waved, and Tano is just getting run at. Whenever you use the Nature's Grasp, there is always a risk of pushing the wave in, so Queen Tekka will be able to get a few more levels, but resulting in the kill on Tano, it was really just the weakness of having that level 2 advantage where they were able to get their levels just a few moments sooner and immediately punishing them.
Yep, the split-second decisions on their part. Sammy Boy and Husky know we've got the advantage. We might as well just push it, as Tano will be taken down. But now Tano, well, returns the lane. He hits level 2 himself. He's holding on to a skill point. So, I don't really think... Oh, hold on. Not really sure what he's going to be able to do here. He misses on the courier, so trying to go in onto Husky, but Husky will turn around with that leech seed. He's sitting on 10 stick charges there as well, so that wasn't going to turn into a whole lot as Tano... It's sort of behind enemy lines, but the impact's not going to be fantastic. This courier, though, does have to sort of sit here for a bit, but it's not in any direct danger.
And you do have to be a little bit careful. The Queen Tekka does do a lot of damage. You see he actually has 0 points, and yeah, no points in reactive armor. He just does a little bit too much damage, and this is sort of the knowledge. People used to think that Ursa versus Timber is a completely one-sided matchup, but once Timbersaw sort of started growing a pair of balls, getting all that damage up, this Timber Chain really hurts, and it's a 4-second cooldown, and you have to be really careful. Tano just sidestepped the wave, let Queen Tekka get level 3, and Sammy Boy got greedy. He had a 10 stick. He died with that.
As you said, a little bit greedy, but it flies in the face of really natural instinct on that Timbersaw to a certain extent. He's been played this way for so long, you don't really want to get that aggressive. You rely on that reactive armor, but Queen Tekka fighting that instinct, and it's working out pretty damn well for him. He's going to try to go in onto Husky. He will effectively be sacrificing his teammate, but the Queen Tekka gets a kill again. 2 on the board for the Timbersaw, so we do now see a point up in that reactive armor, but going the 1-2 build early on has worked out fairly well for him.
And now you were able to trade out, and Sammy Boy, he's not going for that orb of corrosion. That's another avenue that you sort of get. It's a pitfall. You never want to be forced to build it. And they're trying to get aggressive, but I don't think they've got it.
And Queen Tekka falls back. Salve going to be dropped into his pocket, so Queen Tekka will be just fine. And at this point, some of the initial momentum in this lane for Four Zoomers sort of starting to peter out a little bit. Now, that Timbersaw earlier on was sort of getting risky with the item, or excuse me, not the item, the skill build, but the reactive armor is going to come in. Tano's starting to get some levels up here as well, so they're not going to quite have the same sort of ease of execution pushing their way into these fights, and as we've seen the last couple of times, they have suffered some casualties trying to force this maneuver, but they are going to go in again. Queen Tekka, Timber chaining himself away. He's got stick charges as well as Soul Ring, so I don't think he really gets caught here. Sammy Boy would really have to dive for it, and even then, you're not guaranteed to find the kill. So he decides, not going to be worth it. He'll fall back to the lane instead. Oh, maybe not. Pushing forward.
Yeah, he kept the stacks on him. Queen Tekka got a little bit greedy there.
Be able to catch him. Tano, though, that's not fun. He is just getting chunked down. Sammy Boy needs one more hit, but there's going to be the Hex, but the slow from Husky is in. Sammy Boy pushes forward again with the Earthshock, and they will get that kill. On the other side of the map, though, Ocean did end up getting taken down. Kara finds the kill. Nice bushwhack in onto Brax, but the Spear and the Rebuke will come out perfectly timed for Brax. It's going to push back that Weaver, and they won't be able to pursue the secondary kill, but they at least get one in onto Ocean there. Nice initiation, and nice damage from Hoodwink as well.
Rises doesn't even miss a wave. Unfortunately, it will get dragged underneath his tower, so Brax will have something to come back to, but at the same time, it's scary. In mid,
Gunner, just straight up taken down, alone, able to get in there, hits level 6, drops down the Viper Strike. A little bit of assistance provided by that Lion as well, and Gunner just did not see it coming until it was far too late to respond.
And you see Alone now, he's just trying to farm up. He's being really, really efficient. I don't think he's going to get that stack, unfortunately. Hopefully the rune does spawn up for him top, and it will be an arcane rune. And it's so simple. Gunner wants to play up. He wants to be aggressive. He was just sucking the Viper, taking his HP. There's not much that the Viper can do about it. But Tano, perfect positioning. And it looks like they're going to try to make a go at top. Ocean needs to be so careful.
Here it comes. Tano. Is he spotted?
Oh, they don't know.
They don't see him. Look at that, the vision. He's perfectly placed. Kara comes in. They're going to give it a go. Starting things off with the Hex into the Earth Spike. No, into the Bushwhack first. Earth Spike will now be deployed, and they do get the kill. Alone even sort of meanders his way in to get the kill, and now that Courier, will they be able to bring it down? Yes, no, they won't. Okay. that last hit doesn't actually connect. So, no courier snipe, but they do get Ocean. And they get another kill into the hands of their Viper. That is going to go a long way towards putting Ocean, excuse me, not Ocean, Alone, in a much stronger position here in this mid matchup.
Oh, and Timber?
Timber on the run, Queen Tekka. He's got some stick charges. That is going to be enough for another chain, and he is getting himself out of there. Sammy Boy, though, wants to keep chasing. Queen Tekka just stopped moving for a second there.
I'm not sure, maybe trying to cut the trees just in a way that maybe he was able to get a long timber chain going from maybe this tree to this tree. It looked a little bit peculiar there.
Yeah.
Oh, and they see Alone farming a stack.
Can they get in onto him? Gunner and Sammy both pushing forward. Okay. Why go for the kill when we can just steal the stack for themselves? Fair enough. They're just going to take all these creeps, or most of the creeps. Can Viper get back in to fight it? Nether Toxin will be deployed. And that is going to get him maybe one or two of those, but the majority of the stack was sort of ripped out of his hands. So that does not feel great for the Viper. Heads up play, though, from Gunner and Sammy Boy. Once they see the stack is there, they'll straight up steal it from their opponents. But now Gunner may want to be a bit careful. There's about 3 enemy heroes hanging out in the middle lane, and he's not exactly at the point where he's particularly durable right now. So just going to want to stay a little bit further back, stay on his own side of the river, and make sure Kara doesn't spot him out, as Kara will spot him, but at this point he's by himself.
And we'll see. I don't think he's going to be able to get this kill. It does do a lot of damage, but now he's got to be careful. Alone has just walked over.
Yeah, here it comes. Alone and Tana both into the fight. Good slow coming in from Husky, though, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. The life drain will be coming through, but another bushwhack will be there to interrupt it, and Gunner is simply going to be taken down. Fantastic plays from Kara. And now they're looking for even more. They're trying to get onto Husky. Can they actually run him down? Alone, starting to run out of mana, but he does have some wand charges. He will pop them, and that may very well be enough. Husky dropping. Husky will be taken down, and Alone's going to be able to walk away with the kill. Double kill for the Viper.
And I'm surprised Brax didn't want to make that TP. Even if he pumped it, it would have just meant that the Treant would have gotten out of there. But instead, they want to maintain their structure in the lanes. They don't want to give up too much. But Rises has already rotated towards the bottom lane. And with this Timber Saw, they're just going to get a pretty decent push going. And nobody's really responding to this just yet. Brax is still top, just sort of farming away.
No TP, no Glyph. They do throw the living armor out at least, so that's going to slightly slow this down, but slow is the operative word. No one is here to stop this push, so looks like Rises and Queen Tekka will simply take it. Meanwhile, up in the middle lane, Tano, can he somehow get himself out of this one? He is making an escape right now. That Hex comes out onto Husky, and there's no spells up for the Treant, so Tano might just be able to get himself out of this one. He is still on the run, but I think Husky's that little... Actually, he's not faster. So Tano can just sort of keep on pushing away, and here comes Alone into the fight. Husky wants this so damn bad, but I'm not sure he's going to get it. Nature's Grasp, though, does come through, but Tano still will not fall, and now Alone is able to clean things up. So Husky, too greedy. Going to be taken down. Kara, though, does get hit up by the spear into the life drain. Ocean comes in to finish the kill. Now Alone actually trapped up inside of the arena. They'll hit him up with the life drain here. LSA comes through as well, but is this enough damage? Alone is fighting inside of his own Nether Toxin. Rises comes in with the Shikuchi as well. Gunner and Ocean will both fall. Brax is going to try to TP out, but Tano cancels it with the Hex. This is going to get absolutely disastrous. Brax is just going to have to try and deny himself, but that will not work. Queen Tekka in there with the Chakram and the Timber Chain, and that is going to be EgoBoys pretty decisively taking that fight. 4 kills for just Kara's Hoodwink.
And really, a 4-man wipe that shouldn't even have happened. It all started because they were trying to make that play on the line. Husky overextends himself, followed by trying to kill this Viper. And Alone, he's going for this BKB first build again. And that Ogre Axe just a little bit too strong in just the decisive stun coming in from Tano. That line perfectly placed. Really, the one I felt like that set up everything. And now you have Finger. If you get Gunner again, this is going to be crippling for the Pugna.
Yeah, and I have to say, so far, Tano and Kara, they have been absurdly on point. 10 assists for Tano, 4 for Kara. They are just setting up plays left, right, and center. And speaking of setting it up, Gunner's gone. They don't even need the Finger of Death at that point. They will hold it. Rises gets the kill as well, so that Weaver now up to 3-0-3 in terms of the stat line. And if you're 4 Zoomers, now is the point where you need to be concerned. Net worth-wise, it's still less than 1k, but you have less than half the kills of your opponents. And EgoBoys are starting to ramp up in terms of the prizes that they're looking for. It's getting larger and larger in terms of the stakes, in terms of the objectives and fights that they're looking for. And at this point, 4 Zoomers might just be walking right into this one. Husky and Ocean TP mid, but there's still 4 or 5 heroes in the area for EgoBoys, so they've got to hold back. They want to defend the tower, but if they push forward, they're just going to get caught out.
And that's why you see there's not even a TP on Gunner. So while you're trading 1 for 1, you're definitely getting a more important tower here. And while you did get the mid tower before that 4-man wipe happened, again, it does not feel fantastic. And you still have the finger available to you. You still have all of your ultimates. If EgoBoys want to go again while Ryze sort of farms it up, they definitely can. There's nothing stopping them at this point.
And Queen Tekka not looking for the fight, just sort of trying to slow up the creep wave a little bit there with the chakram. His teammates not really in a position to back him up if this did turn into a fight, but I don't think 4 Zoomers really want to push their way forward. But now you do see Kara sort of scurrying his way over, looking for, well, really anything. But not going to run into too much here, so he simply drops down the sentry and will fall back. But now 4 Zoomers have a pretty concentrated presence in this north side jungle. It feels like they want to try and do something with it other than just straight up farming the camps. But for now, it is just going to be that economic focus. They will go after the last hits and not much else. But the Ursa's pushed his way into the pit now, so this is where things could potentially sort of change in 4 Zoomers' favor. Sammy Boy should be able to take this down, but Kara making his way over, going for that acorn shot. They will spot it out. The question is, well, do they get there in time? The answer was immediately no. Sammy Boy is going to be able to take it, so they get the Aegis into his hands, and well, as we said, that could be a difference maker. We'll see how they approach this next fight, but at this point, Sammy Boy, he has an Aegis. That is pretty much it. That Diffusal Blade's still a little ways away, but he is going to close in on it, I suppose, in the next minute or two.
And once you get that Diffusal Blade, that's when you need to be careful if you are the EgoBoys. If Kara or Tano do get caught out, they are going to finally get punished. Up until this point, though, Tana has really just a flawless game. 0-3-11. He's been involved in pretty much everything aside from, I think, 1 kill that was top. And you've got a BKB on your Viper. If you want to continue to try and kill Ocean, you want to try and continue to be annoying. I think, is Ocean captured? No.
No.
Doesn't have enough for the Viper to get there in time, but now you're really fearless. If you're alone, the only issue is how do you figure out to really push down these towers? As you have your BKB really before your team, I think, wants to make those fights happen. But at the same time, 4 Zoomers, they have the Aether Lens, they have the Diffusal Blade on Sammy Boy, so if the fight is there, they do have to be still very cautious with how they take it.
Right, EgoBoys don't exactly have a free pass just yet, but we do also see Ryze's getting that Maelstrom online, so damage-wise, he takes a step forward as Sammy gonna jump in onto Queen Tekka. Ryze is now jumping in with the Shikuchi, though, starting to get that right-click damage in. The Ursa's got to be a bit careful. Nice spear, though, from Brax, pushing Alone back, but that's still going to lead into the poison attack, so Sammy Boy not out of the woods just yet, quite literally, as he is going to be able to jump his way into the river, and it looks like he'll be okay for now. The problem is, that left Husky kind of holding the bag further to the north, as he just has to sit there and eat that death. Ryze's will bring him down, but certainly better to lose Husky as opposed to losing the Aegis on the Ursa. So it's an unfortunate trade, but it's one 4 Zoomers will just have to be okay with.
And we see Ryze as well going for an immediate BKB. They want this timing where they're literally not going to be afraid of anyone. And the only issue is if they're going to fight 4 Zoomers right now, they need to kill everyone except for Mars and Ursa at the beginning of the fight. They need to find that backline. They need to sort of get in, especially with that Timber Saw. And we might see them be a little bit hesitant to spark that full 5-on-5 fight up until Queen Tekka gets this Yule Scepter, because he doesn't have a way to get the Ursa off him at this point. And if he sort of gets a little in too deep and Kara and Tana have to start dying for his positioning mistakes, that's when EgoBoys can get sort of run over. This Viper with a BKB is only as strong as the teammates sitting behind him, and that's when we're going to see EgoBoys try and force the agenda a little bit, but still, it feels like this BKB is almost a little bit too early. You're not pushing down these towers very fast if only your Viper's hitting it.
Yeah, the BKB timing is impressive, but he's too prepared. There's no one else willing to sort of come up with him, so the BKB comes out early, but he's not actually going to use it for quite some time yet. But they are going to look for the push now. They look for it. I don't really know if they're going to get it. The Living Armor's even coming in to heal that Tier 1 tower up, so not a whole lot in the way of immediate opportunities there. But EgoBoys, well, they were sort of bringing heroes over in anticipation of a potential fight, and now that fight may come, but it's over in the bottom lane. Brax going to get jumped in on, Viper Strike locking him down. He is going to buy some time, though, with the defensive arena, and that allows him to TP home. So Brax, nifty play there. It does cost him the ult, but it's on a relatively low cooldown considering it does save his life.
And we will probably continue to see this. The EgoBoys really only think up whenever those carts are up, as right now, unless Ryze has another item and that item is after his BKB, he does not do a lot of damage. Of course, having this DD will shore up that problem just a little bit, but still, that Weaver can definitely die. If he gets caught out by the LSA, he will definitely go down in these fights, and not even the fights. If he just is a little bit too greedy in these side lanes, that's why Ocean is working towards that Aether lens. It's still pretty far away, but once he has it, there is gonna be sort of a risk whenever he shows. At the same time, though, I feel like we're getting a repeat of the previous game where 4 Zoomers are just farming. They're going to dodge you. EgoBoys need to not fall into that trap again. They're sort of itemizing to get the farm back. Alone is doing the exact same build in the previous game. He's getting those boots of travel next, just getting the BKB almost in case a fight would break out. He has it. But still, I feel like you could have been a little bit greedier. You need to be greedy versus this team. Otherwise, I feel like Sammy Boys just existed in your Ancients for a good 5 minutes now.
Yeah, this Aegis not exactly allowing 4 Zoomers into a fight, but they're still getting quite a bit with it, as EgoBoys haven't really been able to press in and try to expand on that advantage. And at this point, the advantage is pretty much gone. And you mentioned earlier on as, hold on, Sammy Boy may still be in some trouble here. Tano's going to try to lock him down. The Earthshock, though, will get him over that tree line, but Queen Tekka continues to push his way forward, but they can't catch up. The Ursa will fall back just in time as well, as that Aegis did expire. But to the point you were sort of mentioning, with 4 Zoomers trying to farm their way back in and EgoBoys kind of letting them do so, I think that they've almost been baited into this by their own success. They look at the scoreboard, they see a 13-5 lead, they think we can afford maybe to take our foot off the gas for a little while as we already have the lead. The problem is,
ooh, Gunner.
They have the kills, but they don't have the gold. But they do find Gunner there in the top lane, so that is going to be a rather sizable step towards trying to correct that issue. But if you're EgoBoys, that is good. We need more of that. That's got to be the mantra for them. They've got to keep on putting this pressure down. They can't just let 4 Zoomers get anything they want in terms of farming up this jungle.
And with the Octarine core, Gunner really has had a rough one, but is still sitting pretty high and mighty, has a good bit of gold to himself, but they're trying to sort of catch them in that top lane with the Lina Pugna. They want that burst, they want somebody to decrep, and we see Ocean, he's going for the Ags immediately after he finishes up that Aether lens, but still, this is so far away. Maybe once he gets the BKB on the Ursa, we're gonna maybe see a fight, but I feel like 4 Zoomers are still just going to dodge EgoBoys until the cows come home. Really, there's no reason for them to fight, and maybe once Rises has his BKB, we're going to see both sides feel a little bit more confident. Tano's still working on that Blink Dagger. That would be another catalyst for a fight to break out, but until then, neither team really wants to give away an advantage they otherwise would have.
And if it does come down to a fight, Brax, I believe he did recently finish off the Blink. If I was looking at that one correctly, not sure where his courier is at the moment, actually, so may be mistaken. There it is, all the way up in the top lane, just kind of hiding out, and it does in fact have the Blink Dagger on it, so it may take a while for that courier to finally arrive, but the Blink is up on the Mars, so they may not want the fights, but they are going to be a little bit better equipped to take them if it does come down to it, as we see both sides sort of dangerously close to each other in this west side jungle. Rises actually hurting himself a little bit there. Kara doing the same. He is going to take a fair bit of damage, but he did get down that bushwhack onto Gunner. So Pugna's going to have to fall back. His teammates, though, are there to lock down the kill. Rises stunned up and taken down immediately. Gunner, though, still dropping. The Essence Ring, though, gives him a little bit of extra HP, but it's not going to be enough. So now Alone, he's found the kill. He's got to get out. But the BKB, it wears off just in time for 4 Zoomers to stun him up, as Alone will be taken down. 3-for-1 trade for that 4 Zoomer side. That is the worst possible timing for the Viper. I believe that was his 9-second as well. Yeah, so he had the maximum magic immunity he could have had, and it still wasn't enough.
And that's a situation. I don't know why his TP was so long, because if he TP'd back home, it's just 2.5 seconds. I think he must have misclicked something like that. But you can't catch your Weaver in a situation where he's underneath sentries. That just can't exist. He had BKB as well. He just wasn't able to use anything. He walked underneath 2 sentries. He gets blink speared. And yeah, EgoBoys, they're starting to crumble.
Here comes 4 Zoomers. They know they have the advantage. Kara taken down already. Tano dropped as well. And Queen Tekka, just hide. You don't want that, really, as he is going to sort of stay back. Or maybe not. Brax, what in the world? How does he not know that? Yeah, he just watched his teammate get jumped in on by that same Blink play, but I guess he either didn't respect it or didn't remember.
He doesn't have Overgrowth, but Alone is no TP. They've all just died.
Oh, dear God. Yep, Alone is dead. What is going on here? Just some big mental mistakes from EgoBoys, and Rises, just get out. He's going to find a kill onto Husky, but yep, there's the drawback. You get hit up by that Ooh, buy that Yules into the arena. Do
He
they have
doesn't
the
want to use
protection?
BKB.
Oh, they're just going to go in for it anyway. Do they have the right-click damage? Ryze is holding on to the ult. He is going to be able to pop it, and by the time he does, that ult does come to an end. So Ryze may not have wanted to pop the BKB, but he doesn't have a choice at that stage. He just has to get himself out. But what a series of mental errors, I guess, for EgoBoys, and errors that 4Zoomers immediately take advantage of.
And it feels like I was going to mention it was a 4K gold lead after that advance, as we see whenever 4Zoomers win a fight, they immediately get an objective. They immediately get a ton of gold because all of their players, they're so fast at getting to those camps. They're so fast at making the decision to farm. And EgoBoy is just a string of errors that feel alien. It feels like, why is this happening? And it looks like they might get Brax here. Yeah, they're going to get Brax, but still. Very strange plays.
It's a good kill, but it's not 5k in one go good, that's for sure. So still very much behind, but at least they found something for themselves to try and stop the bleeding, I suppose would be the phrase that we want to use here. But EgoBoys, they may not be done yet. They're trying to push their way a little bit further forward. Tano blinking in. They get the Hex onto the Ursa, but do they have the damage to do this? Overgrowth comes in on the back line, but I'm not sure it's enough. Sammy, well, never mind. He's getting life drained into. Gunner's going to try and keep him up for as long as possible as Sammy turns on to Tano and then TPs himself home while the BKB was still active. So he gets out. Gunner, though, not quite as fortunate. They will spot him. Queen Tekka pushes forward with the Timber Chain, and they will find that kill, but Sammy's at least able to get away, so you do manage to save that carry, even if it costs a couple of your own heroes.
And it does feel pretty wild for your Ursa to just run into 4 heroes, kill you, and then TP out. If you're Tano, it does feel a little bit weird and a little bit sad, but that was his blink dagger. That was the big reason they were able to kill Brax in that mid lane. And now you did end up losing Gunner, but this Roche is really going to be the next sort of catalyst for everybody to group around. Neither team can take it if the other team is really there in full force. Sammy can sort of start it whenever as well, but they've got really good vision. They see him walking to the pit right now. If Sammy Boy just goes in there, he actually doesn't have any backup. If they knew, EgoBoys would jump pretty much immediately, and if he's still in there, the smoke, it could end up working.
They're going to get in there, Sammy. Might be in some trouble. Toxin's going to get hit up alone. Tries for it. You get the Hex down into the Viper Strike. Gunner, though, trying for that defensive play, life draining into his teammate. But now that puts Gunner on low HP with Ryze trying to track him down. But the Weaver not going to be able to find that kill just yet. Kara, meanwhile, will be taken out. Brax doesn't quite land with the stun with that spear, but it does push Ryze's back, but it's not going to matter. He's still pushing forward. Gunner continues to drop low. He's going to try for the life drain, but the BKB will be activated. Gunner will be taken down. The problem is EgoBoys are losing heroes elsewhere on the map. They've lost both of the supports there as both Tano and Kara do go down. Kara, though, bought back into the fight, and they're going to try and keep pushing forward. Sammy dropping low. The Overgrowth is going to be popped defensively, but the Ursa still needs to try and hold his ground here, dishing out as much damage as he can, and he is going to survive while his teammates will rush in to reinforce. Queen Tekka will be taken down. Ryze fell as well, and Kara, and he just has to run. He's already bought back, can't afford to go down a second time, so it looked a little bit questionable there in the middle. But eventually, 4Zoomers are able to sort of regroup, re-establish control in that fight. A very clutch ult coming in from the Treant Protector to help turn that around, and they will retake control of the pit. They get themselves about 4 or 5 kills, and now Roshan will fall into their hands.
And I'm surprised we're not seeing the Sharpshooter used. We're not seeing it go onto this Ursa, where maybe if he sticks onto the Viper, he doesn't have the Fury Swipe stacking up and his damage isn't as terrifying. And we saw Ryze's, again, he's playing underneath the enemy team's sentries. He's really being risky with his plays. He used his BKB to stop Gunner from healing from his ultimate. And again, you had a game-winning Overgrowth there where Husky just catches absolutely everyone. His team gets to reset. Brax had the spear on Ryze's, and Ryze needs to play to their vision advantage. He can't keep on getting sort of picked off in his own Kikuchi. He can't be getting caught off guard. He had time-lapse there. He would have been able to get it off if he sort of knew the situation he was in. It's not like there's a Yule Scepter on this Lina. He can't really afford to be getting caught out the way he is.
And I think a large part of the reason why he's sort of getting caught out there as well is because it's taking him too long to find that kill. We saw him in that last fight. He tried to push on to Gunner in what looked like maybe not an easy kill, but a situation he should have been able to clean up. Gunner had just a sliver of HP remaining, but Ryze just takes so long to try and close that one out that he's too far away from his teammates, he's gone for too long, and by the time that resolves itself in terms of that sort of 1v1 fight, he is then sort of caught in a bad position. So, needs to be...
What a ward from Husky.
Look at that. Oh, okay. Spear attempted. Alone, though, has the BKB, but that is going to be pretty much running it down to 6 seconds, so Lowest duration of left now, and here it comes. The Overgrowth is in. Alone is in trouble. No more BKB to protect him, and he's gone. Massive plays from Husky. Back-to-back fights now that he's really just sort of single-handedly won it for his team. The Overgrowth originally, and now... Here. Yeah, where is everyone? What is going on? Tano is here.
Yeah, Kara and Queen Tekka were in the base, just sort of waiting behind Alone, and I don't know if Alone didn't call it out, he didn't tell his team that he was dying, or didn't expect the initial jump, but Sammy Dubois just walked at him. And now this is definitely just going to be Rax. You're just going to heal up a little bit on Gunner. I don't really feel like the defense is going to be strong enough. They do need to be careful if they do ever get low, but I don't know.
Oh, Tano. Going to get himself caught out inside of the arena. That's a quick and easy kill. Gunner comes in for it. And the defense for EgoBoys looking even more sort of suspect here. There is a buyback on that Lion, though, so maybe with the Viper coming back up in a few seconds, they could buy back on the Lion, try to push their way forward, but who do they really go in on? That's a bold TP from the Viper just right into the middle of the lane. He immediately, though, gets stunned up by the LSA, and that's going to allow ForZoomers to fall back, although Sammy Boy, he doesn't want to fall back. He's pushing in. That's going to force out the buyback from Tano, but I don't know what they can really do here. It's a little bit too late. That buyback needed to come earlier. Now, they can't actually catch anybody. ForZoomers are just going to sort of fall back and regroup on this high ground.
And Gunner, if he really wants to, he can just go back to base. He almost has a BKB. He has the cheese as well. Really, nobody is under threat of dying. It feels like EgoBoys don't have the burst damage. They don't have any damage. They're not getting the pecking order right. They're not taking out that backline. And ForZoomers are just sort of buffing up everyone. Oh, Tano
jumps his way forward. Yeah, Tano's gone. Dieback indeed, as he will be taken out of the fight. Rise is very nearly dropped as well, but that is going to be a massive ult from him coming out maybe at the last possible second, but it is going to be enough to keep him alive. The problem is it takes him so far out of this fight, he cannot assist his teammates, as Alone is going to get jumped in on. The BKB, though, will buy him some time. Kara, meanwhile, coming in with the bushwhack, but there's going to be that Overgrowth again. Husky is everywhere in these fights. Alone will go down, and now Rises is effectively fighting alone. He doesn't really have any immediate backup, as Queen Tekka is just getting sort of bounced around further to the south. He is going to be able to make it back into the base, but he runs directly into Sammy. Sammy will be able to find... Oh, okay. Not going to get it just yet, but once Queen Tekka comes down from the Yules, he will be finished off, and now Brax has Rises trapped up inside of the arena. The spear will finish him off, and this is just going to be really the last-ditch effort from EgoBoys, as Kara will be taken down by the right clicks of Ocean, and there's nothing left. There's one buyback on Alone, but that's not going to make too much of a difference right now.
And they still have a tier 2 tower mid they need to take, but again, it really doesn't matter. Yeah, Juju just called. It's the polite thing to do, I think, because they really just got worked. It felt like 21 minutes really onward. EgoBoys just kept on making uncharacteristic mistakes. They ran this lineup pretty much the exact same before, except I thought it was better on pretty much every single front. You didn't have that secondary initiation per se with Queen Tekka not being on just a simple blink stunner, but you definitely had that other hero that could go in, and it felt like they ran out of damage. It felt like Rises wasn't able to hit people at the end of the day, and it was just those, I think, those key 2 or 3 deaths around the pit, around that sort of radiant triangle area, that spelled disaster for them. And then I don't know what was happening with that top T2 tower where they just TP'd in, died, TP'd in, died. It felt like some really sloppy mistakes happened to EgoBoys this game.
Yeah, that top play in particular. Cohesion and I think communication just completely broke down for EgoBoys. And we've said it time and time again here through the first couple of days of this event. ForZoomers are not a squad you can make those kinds of mistakes against. They know how to punish you so severely. So ForZoomers really just doing it again. Sammy Boy, double-digit kills there. Pretty impressive stuff, but I mean, you take a look at them, the kill counts in total aren't really all that high, so you mentioned it a little bit earlier on. It felt like a situation where ForZoomers may just be able to sort of farm their way to another victory, and it does kind of feel that way. EgoBoys just sort of get lulled into a false sense of security. They slow down the pace, and we see the results, as they do end up getting sort of overrun a little bit there. So, with that being said, that is going to be ForZoomers back in the win column once again. A 2-0 sweep at EgoBoys' expense. The first series today, actually, that we've seen go to that 2-0 result. The previous two had been 1-1 splits. So, ForZoomers, back-to-back victories here. They will solidify their place at the top of the group stage standings. And now they are done. They played 2 series today. We're not going to force them to play a third. However, we are going to be seeing one of these 2 squads moving into some more action. It'll be EgoBoys, who will be up to the plate once again. they are going to be facing off against Simply 2-Based in our final series of the day. So,
Very excited. Very
yeah,
excited.
it's going to be, honestly, I'd say a pretty hype matchup. These two teams, as of right now, not in the greatest position in the standings, but considering the fact that they're facing off directly against each other, this is a big opportunity. One of these two teams will be able to potentially sort of pole vault their way back up to the sort of middle of the pack, depending on how this one plays out. So we'll see if it's EgoBoys who can sort of bounce back from this just kind of shellacking at 4Zoomer's hands, or if they will continue to struggle going up against that 2-based squad. So we are going to be hopping into that one in just a little bit here, trying to sort of catch up with the schedule a bit. So we'll be taking a short commercial break, but when we return, it will be EgoBoys versus Simply 2-Based in our final series of the day.